They didn't lose you. They threw you away, and now they wear peace like a mask to hide the wreckage they caused. Think about that. Really think about it. They didn't just slip away. They didn't just fade out of your life. They chose silence. They chose to disappear. And not because you weren't enough, but because deep down they knew you were too much to handle, too real, too raw, too honest. And instead of rising to meet your loyalty, your consistency, your love, they chose the coward's path. They vanished. And now they act like nothing happened, like they didn't leave a mess behind. But folks, let me tell you something right now. People don't wear masks unless they're hiding something. And in this case, they're hiding from the truth of what they lost. Before we dive deeper into this truth, if you're already feeling seen, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me till the end. Because what we're about to uncover isn't just about them, it's about you, and why your silence now is the loudest storm they'll never recover from. Hey folks, imagine this. You spend hours, maybe even months, building a home for someone inside your heart. You open every window, you keep the lights on, you make them feel safe, warm, wanted, and then one day they pack their bags and leave. Not because the home was broken, but because they didn't want to pay rent with effort, truth, or growth. They walk away and slam the door behind them. And here's the worst part. They act like they were the ones who were hurt. That's the delusion. That's the performance. They toss something sacred like it was trash, and then post smiles like they found peace. But peace doesn't come from pretending. Peace doesn't come from silence. Peace comes from truth. And the truth is, they know what they lost. You're living your life, quietly, trying to move forward. And yet, there he is again. Not in your inbox, not at your door, but in your mind. A ghost you didn't invite. A memory that drips into your chest like cold water. He hasn't messaged. He hasn't called. And maybe it's been days, weeks, months. But he shows up in your thoughts like he never really left. And you wonder, why? Why does he still linger when he's the one who left? Let me tell you something, my friends. This silence, it's not peace, it's not closure, it's not healing, it's hiding. It's avoidance dressed up in spiritual quotes and distraction. It's a mask he wears while hoping you're still checking your phone, still waiting, still wondering. But I need you to hear me with your whole soul. Just because they're silent doesn't mean they're over you. It means they're hoping you'll break first. They're praying your patience snaps before their guilt does. Because the second you reach out, they win. They don't win your heart. They win your energy, your presence, your emotional labor. But we don't play that game anymore. You're not here to perform for someone who sat in the front row and refused to clap. You're not here to keep texting paragraphs while they send back silence. You're not a doormat. You're not an emotional vending machine. You're not some backup plan they get to access when they feel lonely. You are the prize. You are the storm. You are the voice they silenced. But now, you're the silence they can't survive. So if he's always in your head but he's not speaking to you, understand this. He feels it too. He just buries it deeper. He's pretending, faking, performing. But you're awakening. And the moment you stop reaching out is the moment they realize they're never getting that version of you again. Write this in the comments right now and let it be your new identity. My silence is my strength. Type it, lock it in, burn it into your chest. And don't forget, press that like button and subscribe to the channel. Stay with me, because what we're about to reveal next will change how you see their silence forever. Number 1. Silence isn't peace, it's performance. They don't speak, not because they've healed, but because pretending costs them less than confessing what they destroyed. Let that sink in. You keep telling yourself he's quiet because he's calm, because he's moved on, because the chapter is closed. But my friends, that's not peace. That's performance. That's ego on stage, dressed in fake smiles and hollow captions. He's not silent because he's over you. He's silent because if he speaks, the truth comes out. And the truth, it burns. It breaks the illusion he's desperately clinging to. So instead of facing it, he hides. Behind silence, behind distractions, behind pride. And you're left wondering if you were ever enough, when in reality you were too much for someone who didn't even deserve access to you in the first place. Folks, imagine this. You give someone a key to your heart, not just a little gesture, but your loyalty, your softness, your consistency. You open your world to them, let them in, even when they didn't know how to knock properly. And what do? They step inside with muddy shoes, rearrange everything, leave fingerprints on every wall, and then walk out like they were never there. And when you ask for clarity, they say nothing. When you reach out, silence. And yet, they look so composed, so unaffected, posting as if they've ascended to some higher spiritual plane. But you know what that is? That's not growth. That's guilt dressed up in filters and quotes. That's someone trying to convince the world and themselves that they're okay, when inside they're anything but. You might be thinking, but if he missed me, wouldn't he say something? That's the lie you've been sold. That silence means indifference. But here's the truth. Silence is the cheapest lie someone can afford when they don't want to admit how badly they messed up. Because saying the words, "I regret it," would require one thing their pride can't handle: humility. He doesn't speak because every sentence would come out soaked in guilt. Every message would be a mirror to the part of him he's trying to bury. But here's where I need to talk to you directly. Yes, you. The one who keeps refreshing the chat thread. The one who checks his story views hoping for a sign. The one who thinks his silence means you weren't worth a goodbye. How dare you reduce your worth to someone else's inability to show up? How dare you let his silence convince you that you were forgettable, when the truth is, he remembers you in every quiet moment he tries to ignore. He doesn't speak, because if he did, the dam would break. And he's terrified of that flood, of what it would mean to say, "You mattered. I ruined it. I still think about you every night." So he pretends, he performs, he goes mute, not because he's moved on, but because he knows you did nothing wrong. The performance is for the audience, the silence is for survival. Because if he dared to take off the mask, he'd have to face the wreckage he left behind, and some people would rather play pretend than take responsibility. Some people would rather throw gold in the trash than admit they never knew how to value it in the first place. You're still thinking, maybe he's just figuring it out. Maybe he's not ready. And sure, maybe he's not. But readiness isn't a reason to treat someone like a doormat. It's not a license to disappear without closure. And here's the worst part. He's not just silent. He's watching, silently, carefully, waiting to see if you'll break the silence, if you'll send the message, if you'll fold under the pressure. Because the second you do, he gets to keep the upper hand. He gets to pretend he was the one worth chasing. But let me scold you a little, my friend. How long will you keep waiting for someone who already showed you they're not brave enough to face the truth? How long will you keep shrinking yourself, overthinking every detail, blaming yourself for someone else's emotional cowardice? You weren't too much. You weren't too intense. You were real in a world full of half-hearted people who don't know what to do when love gets too honest. You want to know why it's so hard to let go, because your heart was in it, fully, deeply, and his silence left you carrying not just your feelings, but the weight of the ending too. But not anymore. Not today. Because today, you stop mistaking silence for peace. You stop reading quiet as rejection. You start seeing it for what it is, a cover, a script, a shield. And here's what's wild. He still thinks you care. He still thinks your silence is temporary. He still believes this is a pause before you reach out. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you go quiet and stay gone? That's when the silence he created turns on him. That's when the mask starts to crack. Because people who pretend they're okay are never ready for what it feels like when the person they took for granted no longer responds. So listen carefully. Don't respond, not just with your words, but with your energy. Don't chase, don't explain, don't try to decode his silence. Let it echo, let it collapse, let it destroy the illusion he's built for himself. You don't owe anyone a reaction. Your greatest power now is your refusal to play the part he cast you in. Because this time, you're not performing, you're healing. You're becoming the version of yourself he never thought you'd become, the one who doesn't need him to feel whole. Write this in the comments right now. His silence is my stage. My peace is the show. Say it like you mean it. Say it so the universe hears you. Say it for every version of you that once waited by the phone. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you've stopped chasing ghosts. You've stopped playing small. You've stopped begging to be seen. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And stay with me, because what we're diving into next, it's going to shatter every illusion you've ever had about why they disappear and why you'll never need to chase them again. Number 2. If he's still in your mind, there's a reason. You don't randomly think of someone who once held your heart. Something remains, seen or unseen. Let's make one thing clear, my friends. Thoughts don't haunt us without cause. When someone keeps showing up in your mind, uninvited, day after day, it's not because you're broken. It's not because you're weak. It's because energy doesn't just disappear. It echoes, especially when it was once intense, deep, and real. That connection you felt, it didn't die just because he stopped showing up. That bond, it doesn't vanish just because he's pretending to be fine. What was real doesn't stop existing. It just stops being spoken about. And here's the part no one tells you. In Stoicism, we don't let feelings rule us. We observe them. We ask questions. We separate what we feel from what is true. So when he comes to mind, don't panic. Don't judge yourself. Instead, pay attention. What does his memory still trigger in you? Is it love? Or is it the longing to be chosen? Is it connection? Or the wound of being left without answers? Because that tells you more about you than about him. Still, let's not lie to ourselves. Sometimes when someone haunts your thoughts, it's not one-sided. Sometimes what echoes in your soul echoes in theirs too. They just wear the mask better. They pretend louder, they run faster, but silence isn't proof of peace. It's often evidence of avoidance. Just because he hides it doesn't mean he's free of it. No, he's not out there forgetting you. He's out there fighting the ghost of you in the dark corners of his mind, while doing everything possible to make it look like he's moved on. Imagine this. You're walking through your day, and suddenly, there he is. His name, his face, a memory, a scent. You didn't ask for it. You didn't summon it. It just appeared. Now ask yourself, what if the same thing is happening to him? What if your presence shows up in his silence too, but instead of embracing it, he pushes it down, numbs it, scrolls through distractions, smiles in group photos, dates someone who doesn't know half the real him, all while trying to quiet the truth that he still feels you. But he'll never say it. He can't. Because to say it would mean admitting he feels regret. And to admit regret would require a level of emotional maturity he hasn't reached yet. So instead, he says nothing. He watches silently, stalks you in ways that don't leave a trace. But the pull, it's real. So don't let his silence convince you that you were just a passing moment. You were a mirror, and people don't forget the reflection that made them see themselves for the first time. Write this in the comments now. If he's in my mind, I'm in his silence. Let it remind you of your power. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that you don't chase feelings, you understand them. And stay with me, because next we're breaking down the one fear they'll never admit, the fear of what you'd see if they actually told the truth. Number 3. What you feel, he fears. They miss you, but they fear what missing you says about them. Let that truth hit, because deep down they do miss you. Not just the version they see in pictures, not the highlight reel moments they remember when it's convenient. No, they miss the real you, the one who stayed when things got hard, the one who saw the parts of them they tried to hide, the one who gave without asking, loved without limits, and showed up when no one else would. But they'll never say that, because admitting they miss you would mean admitting they broke something sacred, and that terrifies them. My friends, this is the part no one wants to hear, but you need to. They didn't walk away because you were too much. They walked away because you were too revealing. You saw them fully, beyond the jokes, beyond the charm, beyond the image. You looked straight through their armor and into the part they weren't ready to face, their truth. And that scared them. Not because you were wrong, but because you were right. And when you stand in front of someone who can see you clearly, you only have 2 choices: rise up or run. He ran. He didn't leave because you were dramatic or needy or intense. That's the lie he tells himself to sleep at night. He left because your loyalty held up a mirror, and what he saw staring back wasn't someone ready for that kind of depth. So instead of growing, instead of rising to meet the love you offered, he disappeared. He ghosted, he got quiet, he performed. But here's the thing about silence, folks. Silence is not absence. Silence is protection. Protection from the truth. And that truth is that you mattered more than they could handle. They miss your softness, but your silence now, it exposes their failure. It screams the one thing they're terrified to admit. They messed up. And not just messed up, they lost someone they may never be able to replace. Because people like you don't come around twice. People like you don't beg, you don't chase. You feel deeply, and then you disappear with dignity. And now, that silence haunts them, that stillness, it echoes, that calm they once took for granted. It's become the chaos they can't escape from. You ever wonder why they're so loud online? Why they post like they're living their best life? Why they act like they've found peace while you're still picking up the pieces? Because pretending is easier than confessing. Because in their world, performance is safer than presence. To admit they miss you would mean admitting they destroyed something good, that they were seen and still chose to run. And so they scroll, they post. They laugh louder than usual, but it's not joy, it's camouflage, it's cover-up, it's fear. Because the truth is, they don't just fear missing you, they fear what missing you means, that they fumbled something real, that they weren't the person they pretended to be, that they didn't have the courage to rise. And when someone's ego is built on illusion, the last thing they want is a reminder of the truth. And you, my friend, you were the truth. You were the exception. You were the one who brought out parts of them they couldn't face. And that's why they left. Not because you weren't enough, but because they weren't ready to become the version of themselves that would have deserved you. So stop blaming yourself. Stop trying to decode their silence. Stop asking what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You just made them feel too seen. And not everyone can handle that. Some people would rather date people who only love their masks because it's easier, safer, less vulnerable. But that's not your fault. That's their fear, their limitation, their unfinished work. And here's where you rise, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in truth. You don't need to fight to prove your worth. You don't need to explain why you stayed, why you loved, why you cared. They know. Deep down, behind every staged smile and forced laugh, they know. And that knowing, that's the part that burns. That's the part that lingers in their silence. That's the part they'll carry long after your name stops appearing in their notifications, because your presence left a mark that no performance can erase. Write this in the comments right now. They feared the mirror. I became the truth. Say it for you. Say it for every version of you that was told you were too much. Say it to remind yourself that being real isn't a flaw, it's your power. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that you're not shrinking to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You're expanding, evolving, rising. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're diving into the manipulation behind their silence and why they're hoping you'll be the one to break first. Number 4. They don't call because they think you will. People who avoid responsibility always hope you'll carry the weight. Let that cut through every excuse you've made for them, every reason you told yourself for why they haven't called. They're just confused. Maybe they're giving me space. They'll reach out when they're ready. No, my friends, let's stop dressing up their avoidance like it's wisdom. They're not confused. They're not healing in some enlightened silence. They're hoping, banking, that you'll do the work for them, that you'll carry the weight of the closure they couldn't give, that you'll break the silence so they don't have to feel the shame of what they did or the cowardice of how they left. Let me say it plain. They don't call you because they still think you will. That's the game. That's the trap. The silence isn't peaceful. It's strategic. It's a bet. They are betting that your heart is still soft enough to reach out, that your mind is still replaying the memories, the moments, the what-ifs, that your loneliness will eventually win over your pride, that your healing won't be strong enough to outlast the silence. That's what they're counting on. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a cliff, heart wide open, hands still bleeding from holding on too long. And across from you, silence. A person who knows damn well what they did, and yet they just watch, waiting, hoping, not because they don't care, but because they care more about control than connection. Because for them, silence isn't absence, it's manipulation. It's a leash without a hand, a game of emotional chicken. Who will flinch first? But here's what they didn't expect. This version of you. The one that doesn't chase. The one that doesn't need a why to move forward. The one that sits in stillness and listens, not to the echoes of the past, but to the clarity of her own power. You see, silence can be a prison, yes, but only for those who are waiting. For you, it's become freedom. It's become proof that your peace no longer depends on their voice. Your calm, it's not weakness, it's dominance. And for the first time, they feel powerless. They used to know exactly how to reach you. A message, a breadcrumb, a soft hey, and you'd be there. You'd respond, you'd crack, but not anymore. Now, their silence isn't a weapon. It's a wall they built and now can't climb over because they waited too long, because they thought you'd always be the one to fix it, to explain it, to make sense of their damage. But now, you're silent too. And in that silence, they finally hear everything they were too proud to listen to before. They miss you. Oh, they do. But they miss the feeling of being wanted more than the actual connection. They miss being on a pedestal. They miss being chased. And now, when they check their phone and see nothing, not a text, not a like, not a sign, you are suddenly the loudest voice in their life. That stillness, that absence, it's screaming truth in a way their ego can't escape. And let me scold you gently. Stop entertaining the fantasy that they just need more time. Stop telling yourself that silence is strength. It's not. Silence without action is just comfort for cowards. Real strength is saying, I won't carry this anymore. Real strength is sitting in the quiet and letting it become your throne, not your trap. So if you've been waiting for a sign, let this be it. Don't call, don't text, don't explain, because every second you stay still, they lose the one thing they never thought they'd lose: control. You're not the girl who breaks anymore. You're not the backup plan. You're not the emotional sponge for their guilt. You are the storm they never prepared for. And now, you are the calm they can't survive. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is the shift. Say it for every moment you wanted to break the silence just to feel heard. Say it for every version of you that once begged for clarity. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that the most powerful move you ever made was the one where you didn't move at all. And stay with me, because next we're exposing the one thing they try to fake the most: joy. And why the performance they put on is never for the world, it's always for you. Number 5. Your absence is the one thing they can't replace. They can post new smiles, but energy, that's irreplaceable. They might post like they've moved on, like they're happier, like their world suddenly became lighter without you. But here's what they'll never say out loud: no one feels like you. No one is you, because you weren't just another connection. You were the gravity in their chaos, the safe place in their noise, the quiet strength that made them feel like maybe, just maybe, they were enough. But instead of rising to meet your depth, they chose the shallow end. They ran toward the easy, the temporary, the hollow. And now, they're surrounded by smiles, but haunted by your silence. My friends, you need to understand this. He can replace the attention. He can mimic the affection. He can even copy the routine. But your energy, your presence, the way you saw him, understood him, held space for him without demanding anything back, that cannot be replicated. That's not something another woman can just step into and fill. That's a one-of-one, custom-built, rare. Stoic love doesn't come with conditions or chaos. It's calm, it's loyal, it's unwavering, it doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it holds, and that's what you gave him. He didn't just lose you, he lost the feeling of being emotionally anchored for the first time. You weren't just a moment in his life, you were the foundation under his storm. And now that foundation is gone, and he's trying to stand tall on gravel, pretending he's steady. But every step without you feels a little less sure, a little less real, because now every laugh is just a little too loud, every caption a little too polished, every smile a little too hollow. Imagine this: he's out, surrounded by people who laugh at his jokes, smile at his stories, admire the surface, but no one really sees him, not the way you did. Not the way you leaned in when he couldn't find the words, not the way you read his silence like a second language, not the way you stayed when staying was hard. And now, he scrolls through his phone, surrounded by noise, and all he can hear is the quiet of you not being there. But here's the truth, folks. He won't tell you this. His pride won't let him. He'll pretend he's fine. He'll post like life has never been better. He'll laugh, flirt, perform. But deep down, he knows. And he feels it every day, in the smallest moments, in the stillness, in the spaces where your energy used to live. He's not over you. He's just over having to admit that he lost the one person who made him feel like home. And let me scold you gently. Stop watching their new posts like they've upgraded. They haven't. They've distracted themselves. Because love without depth is just performance. And the second things get hard, he'll realize that shallow can't hold him the way you did. The bond you gave, that wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual, it was sacred. And he broke it. Not because he didn't feel it, but because he didn't know how to honor it. So no matter what it looks like on the surface, remember this. Your absence is his punishment, not because you're cruel, but because your presence was that valuable. And now, every time he sits with someone who doesn't feel like you, he remembers, not out loud, but in silence, in stillness, in the echo of what used to be. Write this in the comments right now. I am the energy they'll never feel again. Let it anchor you. Let it remind you that your worth doesn't fade just because someone else failed to carry it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that being irreplaceable isn't about being loud. It's about being real. And stay with me, because next we're going deeper into what real attraction looks like, and why your stillness is no longer sadness. It's seduction. Number 6. True attraction begins with calm. You don't need to be loud to be remembered. You just need to be real. In a world where everyone is trying to be noticed, the most unforgettable woman is the one who doesn't need to scream. She doesn't need to prove, to perform, to post. She just is. Unshaken, grounded, radiating something so rare, so steady, it makes people wonder how they ever mistook her softness for weakness. My friends, if you really want to make him miss you, stop doing everything they expect you to do. Don't explain yourself. Don't try to prove your worth. Don't break the silence. Just return to yourself. Because here's the Stoic truth. Silence is power when it's born from clarity. Stillness is strength when it comes from peace. When you stop trying to be understood by people who refuse to see you, something changes in your energy, and they feel it, especially the ones who lived in your storm, who fed off your confusion, who expected you to always react. You're calm now. It's disorienting. It's the shift they never prepared for. Imagine this. They once knew exactly how to pull you back. One breadcrumb, one vague message, one story meant to trigger, and every time you responded, you explained, you chased clarity from someone who hid behind chaos. But not this time. Now you've gone silent, not out of pain, but out of power. And that calm, it's magnetic, it's not loud, it doesn't wave flags, it whispers truth in a language only the guilty can hear. And now that you're no longer reacting, they start to feel it. In the quiet, in the stillness, in the places where your attention used to live. Your glow, it's different now. It's not about being seen, it is seen, naturally, powerfully, without effort. You become the kind of woman who doesn't beg for energy, she becomes it. And that's what they never expected. They expected you to crumble, to come back, to fall into old patterns. But when you didn't, when your silence became sacred instead of sad, they started to panic. Because true attraction doesn't begin with being loud, it begins with being whole. When you stop seeking love as validation and instead become love itself, calm, steady, real, something inside you shifts. You no longer want to be chosen by the one who ghosted. You want to be respected, and the moment that becomes your new standard, you stop needing their attention and start commanding their regret. Let me tell you something you might not want to hear. The more you chase them, the less they see you. But the moment you disappear into yourself, not in bitterness, not in games, but in peace, they feel your absence like a void. Because the woman you're becoming, she doesn't seek closure. She becomes the ending they never got to write. Let me scold you gently. You've been trained to believe you need to do something to make them notice. You don't. You've always been enough. Your only mistake was thinking you had to earn what should have been honored. Calm is not passive. It's provocative. It's the kind of energy that makes them question everything they thought they knew about you. Because when they see you not reacting, not explaining, not even checking, that's when the real panic starts. So stop over-explaining. Stop trying to prove your side of the story. Stop pouring your energy into someone who can only recognize your value when you go silent. Let your glow speak. Let your absence correct what your words never could. Because your calm is no longer for them, it's for you. You are no longer the woman they once knew. And now they're left wondering, how did I lose her? And the answer? One quiet day at a time. Write this in the comments right now. My calm is my glow. Say it for every time you doubted your worth. Say it for every time you chased instead of received. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that the new version of you doesn't beg to be seen. She is unignorable. And stay with me, because next we're about to unravel the final mask they hide behind: performance, and why every post, every highlight, every staged smile is not confidence. It's their silent confession. Number 7, they don't apologize, they pretend. When guilt is too big, pride becomes the armor. They won't say sorry. They won't tell you the truth. They won't look you in the eyes and admit, I ruined something rare. Not because they don't feel it, but because they feel it too much. And that's the part they can't handle. So instead of apologizing, they pretend. Instead of showing remorse, they show up online, posting their best angles, their loudest laughs, their most filtered peace. But don't be fooled, my friends. That's not growth. That's not healing. That's camouflage. Because every I'm fine they post is just another way of screaming, I'm not okay without you. See, when someone knows they destroyed something real, something steady, sacred, soft, they don't move on clean. They perform, because performing is easier than admitting they caused the damage. Pretending is easier than facing the silence you left behind. They don't post for the world, they post for you. Hoping you're watching, hoping you're still triggered, still wondering, still hurting, because as long as they can control the narrative, they don't have to sit with the shame of what they threw away. But let's speak the truth clearly here. Your absence is what built the stage. Before, they didn't need to pretend. You were there, loving them, holding them, making excuses for them. But now that you're gone, now that your energy isn't cushioning their guilt, they're forced to put on a show, a big one. And the bigger the performance, the deeper the regret they refuse to speak of. Imagine this. Someone burns down a home, and instead of apologizing, they build a fake one out of cardboard and fairy lights, take a photo and caption it, healing. That's what's happening here. They didn't fix anything. They just decorated their denial. But what they don't realize is that the one person who saw them, truly saw them, no longer cares to watch the show. And that is what haunts them. Not your words, not your absence, but your indifference. And here's what makes it worse for them. You're not reacting anymore. You're not taking the bait. You're not rising to their subtle provocations. And in that silence, they start to feel the truth. They're not over it. They're just trying to outperform their pain. But the body doesn't lie. The soul doesn't lie. And when the curtain drops and the room is quiet, guess who returns? You. Not in person, but in memory, in feeling, in regret. Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. How many times have you seen their smile online and doubted your impact? How many times did you assume they were fine just because they were loud? Let me break that illusion right now. Loud isn't peace. It's panic dressed up in performance. When someone is healed, they don't have to prove it. When someone is happy, they don't have to shout it. Real peace is quiet. Real peace doesn't need an audience. So let me scold you gently. Stop romanticizing the highlight reel. Stop thinking that their silence plus a few pretty pictures means they've forgotten you. They haven't. They can't. Because people don't forget the ones who loved them in their darkest hour. They just learn how to pretend until pretending becomes unbearable. And that moment is coming. Slowly. Quietly. But it's coming. The truth always returns. And when it does, they'll have no one to perform for, because you won't be watching anymore. Write this in the comments right now. Their performance doesn't fool me. Say it for every time you doubted your impact. Say it for every silent apology you never received. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your peace is not a stage. It's the life they could have had but lost. And stay with me, because next we're stepping into the final truth. The one they'll never admit. The one that wakes them up at night. The one that proves your absence wasn't the end. It was the beginning of their collapse. Number 8. When you choose peace, you become the storm. You were once reactive, now you are still, and that stillness is terrifying to them. They never feared your anger, they never feared your pain. They expected your tears, your paragraphs, your over-explaining, but now you've gone quiet. And that's the storm they never prepared for. Because people who feed on chaos don't know what to do when you stop performing, when you stop chasing, when you stop needing to be heard, understood, or chosen. Your silence, it's not weakness, it's strategy, it's transformation, it's power. Stoics don't chase closure, they become it. They don't fight to be remembered, they live in such truth that forgetting them becomes impossible. And you've risen, not with noise, but with grace. Not with revenge, but with calm. And that calm, it echoes, it lingers, it wraps around their pride like a reminder. You lost something sacred. And here's what shakes them most. You're not waiting anymore. You're not watching. You're not wondering. You've returned to yourself. And in that return, you've become untouchable. Not because you stopped feeling, but because you started choosing peace over chaos. That is your power now. So here's the truth, my friends. Your silence was never weakness. It was your power waking up. You didn't lose them. They lost access to the calm, loyal, irreplaceable soul that once stood by their side. And now, you don't have to chase. You just have to be. If this spoke to your heart, press that like button, subscribe for more soul-shifting truths, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And before you go, drop this in the comments. I choose peace. I choose me. Let the world feel your energy. You're rising, quietly but undeniably.